You know, you watch a show like Money Heist, and you think it's all about the action, right? But what if I told you it's actually a masterclass in legal strategy? That's what we're going to do today. We're breaking down the law through the eyes of the one and only professor. Let's dive in.
And this right here, this is the whole game. The professor's greatest weapon wasn't a gun, it was his brain. He knew the legal system inside and out, better than the people trying to stop him. It totally flips the script on what crime even is.
So that's the big question, right? How can the law itself become a weapon? Because this isn't just about breaking rules. Oh no, this is about taking the law, its own procedures, its own fine print, and turning it back on itself. And believe me, the professor is about to give us a masterclass.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. We're looking at 4 main principles from his playbook: finding the loophole, mastering the procedure, controlling the narrative, and, maybe most importantly, exploiting the psychology. Let's get into it.
All right, first things first. We have to completely change how we're looking at this. We're not the cops. We're not the lawyers trying to prosecute. Nope. We are getting inside the professor's head. We're going to see the system just like he does.
And this is really the key to everything. The professor didn't just have a plan for a robbery, he had a legal strategy. He had studied the law so deeply, he knew it better than the cops themselves. He wasn't winging it. He knew exactly what they could do, but, and this is crucial, he knew what they couldn't do, all based on their own rules.
Okay, which brings us to principle number 1, the loophole. The professor's genius was understanding that the law isn't this solid black and white thing. It's full of gray areas. It's full of gaps. And for a mind like his, a loophole isn't a mistake. It's an invitation.
And here's the perfect example from the show, right? If they had just stolen the money already sitting in the Royal Mint, that's just theft. Simple. But what did they do? They printed new money. Now think about that. Who are they stealing from? It's not one person's property. It creates this huge legal gray area, a loophole big enough to drive a truck full of cash through.
And that right there, that's the ultimate power move. By changing the very definition of the crime, he's no longer just reacting. He's not on defense. He's on offense. He's controlling the entire legal game because he understands the rules better than anyone else on the field. So once you've found your loophole, what's next? Well, that leads us right into principle number 2, procedure. See, it's not just about what the law says, it's about how the law is done. The professor understood that the system's biggest strength, all its rules and processes, could actually be its Achilles heel. Just think about all those negotiations, right? The demands for pizza, releasing a few hostages here and there. That wasn't kindness. It wasn't random at all. Every single one of those moves was a calculated play to make the police follow their own protocol. They have to negotiate. They have to follow due process. And every second they spent doing that was another second the crew had to print money.
The strategy is so simple, it's brilliant. You make a demand that the system has to respond to. You force them to play by their own rulebook. And boom, you've just used the system to tie its own hands, creating all the delays and openings you need.
It really shows you that due process is a classic double-edged sword. Yeah, it's there to protect the innocent, but in the hands of a mastermind, those same protections become a shield for the guilty.
All right, we've got the loophole, we've got the procedure. But now for the real game changer. Principle 3, the narrative. We're moving out of the legal books and into the court of public opinion. Because the professor knew something vital. A law is only as strong as the people who believe in it.
He wasn't just a bank robber. He was a storyteller. And the story he told was powerful. It was the little guy against the big, bad system, David versus Goliath. And by framing it that way, he turned the crowd on the street into his real jury. He was winning their hearts and minds, one person at a time.
And look at this power balance. The government has its laws, its statutes, right? But when you get public opinion on your side, that becomes a force of nature. It puts so much pressure on the authorities that their hands get tied. The will of the people starts to become more powerful than the letter of the law.
And really, that's the end goal of this whole narrative strategy. The moment the state loses its moral high ground in the eyes of the public, its legal power just starts to crumble. Moral legitimacy beats legal legitimacy every time.
Okay, all of this, the loopholes, the procedure, the narrative, it all leads to our final and maybe the most important principle of all, the psychology. Because law isn't just words in a book, it's a system run by people, flawed, emotional, predictable people.
I mean, think about it. Judges have their own biases. Juries are driven by emotion. And cops? Cops have egos. The professor got this. He knew you don't attack the machine, you attack the operator. He found the human weaknesses and pushed every single button.
At the end of the day, you can have the most perfect plan on paper, but if you don't understand the people you're up against, what makes them tick, what they're afraid of, what they want, your plan is going to fall apart. Human psychology is always the wild card.
So let's put it all together. The professor's playbook. Step 1, know the loopholes. Step 2, respect the procedure so you can use it. Step 3, master the narrative. And Step 4, exploit the psychology. That's it. A 4-step masterclass in turning the law into your greatest weapon.
And this final thought really just brings it all home. Every courtroom is its own heist. Because think about it. These 4 principles, they aren't just for a TV show. This is exactly what the best lawyers in the world do every single day. It's their toolkit.
So the big takeaway here is that the greatest legal minds, they don't just know the law, they weaponize it. They see it not as a book of facts to be memorized, but as a system of levers to be pulled and rules to be bent to get what they want.
Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. After all this, is the law really a rule book that we all have to follow? Or is it more like a game board, where the smartest, most strategic player is the one who really wins?